Breaking news.
President must know that this is a bad time for our nation. We must look for foreign support to save this nation.
World news, sport, music,
Girl, I just want me with you like guys.
and many more. To listen to our programs, follow us live on all our social media platforms on Facebook at Alóore Radio, Twitter and Instagram at Alóore Radio. You can also subscribe on our YouTube page on Alóore Radio. Make sure you click on the notification bell so you know when we are live. This is Alóore Radio, the voice of Oyo State.
Thank you very much for joining us again on Alóore Radio. We are live at GSM Studio, Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism Secretariat, Agodi, Ibadan. My name is Taiwo Olaniyo and the program is Conversations on Alóore Radio. And this afternoon it is another different tone, especially with our guest who is coming for the very first time. You're welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's a privilege to introduce to you the Attorney General and the Commissioner for Justice from the Ministry of Justice, Professor Oyolowo Oyewo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who is presently with us here at the GSM studio. You're welcome again, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
But the program is Conversations on Alóore Radio, and this is where you get to hear from him himself. Instead of having to speculate or go on Google, he's going to tell us a lot about himself in a minute now. So my very first question for you is to give us a brief knowledge of yourself, your educational background, and other things that we should know about you.
Okay, but before I do that, let me just take the opportunity to thank the people of Oyo State for the massive vote of confidence in the administration of our boss, Engineer Seyi Makinde. We thank you all for the support and the approval you've given to this administration, particularly in Omitutun 1.0. We believe that there will be sustainability and development in Omitutun 2.0. And I count it as a great privilege to be one of the those who have served with the governor in the executive cabinet. So I thank the people of Oyo State for this privilege. Now, for me, I'm a product of the family of Oyewo in Ogbomoso. And I schooled in Ogbomoso. I did primary school, Baptist Day School, Shupa, secondary school, Ogbomoso Grammar School. Finished up in Ibadan Grammar School before going to Polytechnic Ibadan for my basic studies, advanced level, before going on to University of Ife for my LLB, then law school, then University of Lagos for postgraduate studies, and then University of California, Los Angeles for postgraduate studies. I was admitted to the Nigerian Bar in 1982 and the State Bar of California in 1990. Started work as State Counsel in the Federal Ministry of Justice in 1983. Crossed over to University of Lagos as a lecturer in 1985, and I became a professor in 2015, backdated to 2012. Then appointed Attorney General in 2019, became a senior advocate in 2020. That's my background.
Okay, we just listened to about 40 years journey. I think over 40 years.
Yeah, over 40
in
years.
a minute.
Yes.
Well, great professor.
Great, the greatest of the greatest.
But there's something that interests me. Yes, starting from Polytechnic of Ibadan, which is known as a technical institution, and then venturing into law.
Yeah.
So what's caused
Well,
the change?
the it wasn't a change. The Polytechnic had what we call the School of Basic Studies then, which was the most influential and important and well-known school for training people before you decide. It's a gap between your secondary education and university education. So they call it School of Basic Studies. So people from there can either go to OND, HND, or you go over to university. And he had Commerce and Communication and Science. So I was in Comcom, so it wasn't a deviation.
Because
So
being in law.
yeah, law basically happened by I would say it happened by choice of God, because I didn't want to be a lawyer. I had an uncle who was a lawyer who was so fierce. Then there was so much talk about lawyers being in lodge, being this and that. But as God will have it, I was actually studying business administration in University of Lagos. I was a student of University of Lagos. University of Lagos has always had a session or something ahead of IFE. So on one of those vacations, I went to spend time with my friend who happens to be studying law. So for want of anything else to do, I followed him to class. And I discovered that, look, I enjoy sitting down in my law class than my business class. And thankfully, those days we had multiple admissions. So I had admission to Unilag, I had admission to IFE, I had admission to JOS. So I just found out that my admission to IFE had not elapsed. So I just quickly, paid and enrolled and surrendered the admission in Unilag. And the rest of it is history.
So today you're now the Commissioner for Justice and in charge of the Chambers of Attorney General of your state. So that means you're already in politics.
Yes, the office is both professional and politics. The joke of it is that they call us Polytechnic. That's technical people in politics. So I'm not a politician. Okay. I'm a Polytechnic.
Okay, not politician or a trained.
Not somebody running for office. The truth of it is that the happenstance or the divine providence that brought about my coming is a chance meeting with His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde. Just some weeks before his swearing in, he had won his election. He met with me at the session on legal practice, and that was our very first meeting in life. And they got to know, I was introduced to him, and he got to know I'm a citizen of his state. And then we started talking, and then he invited me to come and serve the citizen of Oyo State. So I'm not a politician.
You're a politician, but I know you've witnessed a lot.
Oh yes, you need political, wisdom to be able to manage in the political scene. It's not just technical aspect of the law that you have, because as the office indicates, you are both Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice. So both professional and political and administrative requirements on you.
Okay. All right, sir. So being a part of the executive cabinet of Governor Seyi Makinde since the beginning of Omitutu 1.0, I want to ask if you have a foresight of what the administration, the Omitutu 1.0, was going to achieve at the beginning of it.
Well, the truth of the matter is that the beauty of serving with a person like Engineer Seyi Makinde is that he had a template of what we were going to do.
Okay.
So each one of us were given the manifesto and the projection. So you could see, even in this Omitutu 2.0, there is a chapter on rule of law that tells you what is to be required of, And you see, with the cardinal objective of education, health, commerce, and security, all of them, law is the foundation. So the truth of the matter is that in all these pillars of achievement, underlining it is the role of the law. So
makes it
whether it's
important.
so whether it's education, you need laws to establish, you need regulations, you need protocols, you need and as a matter of fact, we were the ministry or the office of the Attorney General was so pivotal in the establishment of Amotekun to this extent that we had to babysit Amotekun. Amotekun was located in the Ministry of Justice at inception until they moved to their, so we play a cardinal, fundamental. We are like one of the tap roots that undergirds the whole workings of every ministry in the administration of the government. So one of the things we did when we came was to reform all the laws. So we just passed all the laws, divided some ministries, created some new ministries, partitioned some ministries, created some, and then set the guidelines and all this. We just do it quietly, without people knowing that's what we do. So our ministry is very pivotal in achieving the objectives of the administration.
It seems that the efforts from the Ministry of Justice has been noted and has been sent from the inception of Omitutu 1.0, following the template of the lead administrator, Governor Seyi Makinde.
Yeah.
Also, therefore, sir, I would like to ask again that at the beginning, when you were appointed as the commissioner for the Ministry of Justice and the Chambers of Attorney General, what were the set goals that you had for the ministry, apart from the assignments that the establishment of rule of law has to be part of the administration, and what the agenda of Omitutu 1.0 was then?
You see, the agenda was not personal; it was corporate. So the moment we were appointed and all that, we went on retreats, and at the retreat, each of the ministries had to define within the context of the template of the government. So you define who are your stakeholders, what are the objectives, what is it you want to do, how are you going to change the things you are going to meet, and what are the resources that you need, and who are the people that you need to work with, and what are the end that you can see even from the beginning. And I can tick so many of those things that when we started, it looks like, wow, will we be able to do this? And one after the other, we started ticking them and started finding out that, look. So, for instance, when you come, the first set of people you need to work on are your staff. So, if you look at Ministry of Justice, the first thing we had to do was to look at this environment. Does it represent us lawyers? And the first thing we did was that as lawyers, we are very finicky about our environment. So if you look at the whole secretariat, Ministry of Justice, I can say proudly, stands out.
There's a beauty.
Yeah, it stands out. Because we are lawyers, we must stand out. Our dressing, our everything. Then after you take care of the environment. So you look at the environment, we even change our flower beds and all that to make sure that the environment reflects the newness of the administration. So even the flowers that we made there hibiscus flowers, that's old school. So now we did the yellow ficus, yellow bush, trim the palm trees, create an ambience.
That particular.
We are very, very. And then we start to look at our inside working environment. So for instance, we didn't have a conference room and there was no resources. We were able to do private-public partnership with Wema Bank that gave us a conference room that has become a standard for other ministries to copy, and so many things. And then take the morale of the staff. So we started, using our conference to do training. Then we started changing people around. Those who have stayed in one place for too long, we moved everything around. So this made us to be ready to, launch out and meet with other stakeholders. So the first stakeholder we also had to reach out to were the judiciary. So we had to work with judiciary. And so, judiciary is an independent arm of government. So we can't just go there and say, hey, we have come, hand over your no. So it was a process. So the policies of the government were now being communicated to the judiciary for interpretation and implementation. So for instance, the whole idea of how do we appoint judges? So we had to let them know that, look, the new policy of government in appointing anybody into Oyo State is to give a fair chance to every citizen of Oyo State. Unlike the opaque system that we met, that you never knew how people became judges. Now we insisted, just like civil service, let there be some form of an objective, subjective process. So the objective process, you do exams, you do interviews, you will interact with the people. Then the objective, subjective process is to also, bring what you call the constitutional requirement of equitable distribution of offices. So the 6 geopolitical zones in Oyo State had to be reflected. You can't just have only Ibadan people as judges or people from Obobasho or people from... So you have to have a reflection of all the people in all the, 6 geopolitical zones. And then, of course, one thing we didn't, then you have to do religious balancing so that everything, it's fair, it's equitable, and anybody in Oyo State can aspire to the highest office of the judge. So if you are qualified, we take you. It won't just be Omo Lagbaja, Omo Tagbedo, which was the order of the day in those days. So these are the reforms that are going in. And we believe that with that, you have great impact in the quality of administration of justice, and people will come and know, if a person like me, that I don't have any godfather that brought me in, I believe anybody should be able to aspire. And that's what we have been able to achieve in the appointments that we have been making. If you contact the judiciary, they'll tell you. And then, of course, also trying to see that the environment of the judiciary, so tarring the roads within the courts, stepping up. If you go to our High Court now, if you look at what at the swearing in of the CJ yesterday, she mentioned that there is a standardization that's going on, that this is the pace-setter states. Let our courts, be conducive environment for the users and those who come there. And of course, we also have what the CJ is talking about making sure that it's a continuous, sustainable process. Not that we just do one and then, so for as we are speaking now, the High Court in Ogbomoso too is being, repaired, renovated to step it up and all that. This is the pace-setter state. I remember when I used to come to court, I used to look forward to coming to court in Oyo State because the Oyo State judges were standout judges. When you are coming, you have to prepare. I had a personal experience where I went before a judge. I can never forget the judge, Justice Shijuade, and I was asking for adjournment. He looked at me as an unserious person, and he said, "Are you for real? We will step this matter down. You go and read your file, and we will start the case." That we did not just fix the date, and that's the kind of thing that used to make justice to be not only quality justice but expeditious justice. Now, nowadays, cases take forever to be, because lawyers come unprepared, they take adjournment, and judges will allow them. In those days, you have to have a cogent reason to take an adjournment, So all these things, we are looking into improving the quality of justice, and of course, the provision of a conducive environment for judges. Even though all the other states have stopped buying high quality, high-end value vehicles for judges, Oyo State still maintains that. There is nowhere dispute resolution and mediation between ministries. Because these ministries, I'll give you a Greek and environment. We had to sit with them and say, okay, this belongs to our Greek, this belongs to our environment, this belongs to finance, this belongs to budget, this belongs to, and then you also have MDAs, contending that these functions belong to them. So you still have issues as recently as having between lands and finance on land charges, who manages it, who operates it. And we quietly sit down with them and listen to them, and objectively we say, okay, this one belongs to this place. So let the law, so we make laws that reflect compatibility, harmony, and deliverability of the objectives of government.
Okay. It means the administration of Professor Oyelowo Oyewo, the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and presently the Commissioner for the Ministry of Justice and Chambers.
You mean the administration of Governor Seyi Makinde?
I want to talk about your own portfolio now.
Okay.
I want to talk about your portfolio, that it has helped to, it has helped the current administrations, and changed the face of law, especially working on reformations, including settling of disputes among ministries and all of that, and also providing for workers, ensuring the welfare of workers as well. And also, it's also noted that the way that it is now in the Ministry of Justice is that provide a wide, that there's nobody that cannot contest for any position or cannot get to
any citizen of your state has a right to aspire to high office.
That means the Ministry of Justice has gone beyond bias and prejudice in certain positions. It is quite interesting to also know that as well. But just before you go, sir, I would want you to tell us about the agenda of Omitutu 2.0. What should be the expectations of the citizens as well as the civil servants generally?
Now, before we go into that, there is one arm of government that I want to appreciate, and that is the legislature. We have enjoyed a very good relationship with the legislature in the state in passing and making laws for your state, because these laws are necessary in order to make operations and the way we enforce, the way we relate to be, conducive to achieving the ends of government. The Omitutu 2.0 document is very clear. Rule of law, it's one of the major things. And one thing we have done in this administration, you will not find us till today exercising powers in an abusive manner. So I give you an example. Unlike before, where governors used to interfere, there's been no interference on the part of the governor in appointment, in the workings of government, in the exercise of the power of Attorney General, particularly in the area of nolle prosecute. The power to just say, oh yeah, go and make sure that this person is released. There's no such thing. And you can see even when we had NSAS, or your state, the governor was able to, mail around with the youths, and that has been such a commendable thing. So in Omitutu 2.0, when we get to it, you will see the major thing is to sustain the rule of law, enhance the relationship with the judiciary and the legislature, and also use law as an instrument for social change. One of the commendable things this administration has demonstrated is the humane, nature of law proposition and also law enforcement. I give you an example. One time we came, people said, okay, people should be removed from the streets and all that. The administration looked at the people on the street as people of Oyo State, and they were also taxpayers and all that. So the first question we ask is, if we remove them from the street, where do we put them? So our laws take care of that. Okay, so create a market for them instead of just banning them from the street and all that. So you find out that by and large, most of the people you find on the street, it's not because there's no markets for them to go to. So those are some of the things that we are going to. And now in Omitutu 2.0, the principle that the government has been using is from poverty to prosperity. Poverty to prosperity. So the things that this administration has been doing in terms of infrastructure, in terms of creating an environment for conducive investment, is ongoing. And so the contracts, the laws will have to be seen to be dynamic in being able to create enabling environment for investors. One example that we have that is ongoing is SABA, State Action for Business Environment Reform. State Action for Business Environment Reform, SABA. So we will pursue SABA. SABA used to be PEBIC, that is ease of doing business. So we want to make business in Oyo State to be conducive. At the same time, we want to be able to extract value. So we have started passing some laws that will enable us to generate more internal revenue That's the truth of the matter, because as the federal government is lacking in capacity to sustain the financial obligations, it behoves the state to be able to generate more revenue. So areas like solid minerals, and thankfully there are constitutional amendments that have already taken place that puts the administration in good stead to fulfill Omitutu 2.0. So things like power, and we work in synergy with other ministries like energy, like environment, like finance, like lands and all that. So this synergy will continue. Then in terms of security, the Attorney General is part of the security apparatus of the state. In terms of prosecution, we are trying to invest, even in having what you call interrogation room, in order to comply with the law in terms of when witnesses, so that police brutality and stuff like that will be, and then institution building. You remember yesterday when we were swearing in the governor, the chief judge by the governor. The governor emphasized the issue of institution building. When you build institutions instead of persons, it makes for good governance. It deepens good governance. And good governance is about delivering of democracy dividends. If after 4 years, or your state people can say, on the 25th of every month, there is something outflowing from the government to you. If after 8 years, definitely what has outflowed to you will manifest in prosperity. So bottom line of it is that the workings of the government is geared towards improving the standard of living of the people of Oyo State. And thankfully, when we went for it during the campaign and election, it was so heartwarming to meet people that knew me. And then they'll be telling us about the administration. The one that blew my mind was a bricklayer who we were talking to. He said, you okay? And like gómìnà wa ṣiṣẹ́ ẹ bá sọ fún ẹ pé wọ́n ṣe ipa àwọn èèyàn ra block, àwọn èèyàn kọ́lé, and they were saying under the previous administration, the civil servant did not have money to build houses. So all those kinds of stories are good, report feedback that we are getting. People. That we know that yes, whatever the opposition is saying, whatever anybody is saying, the real people of Oyo State are being impacted by the good governance. And it is no wonder that the governor of Oyo State was voted as the best governor in the whole of Nigeria. So it's a great feeling to be part of this winning team, and we believe that the office of the Attorney General, the chambers of the Attorney General, in prosecuting, in rendering service. Let me say that we have nothing less than 10 departments or 10 divisions that are working with us to achieve this together under the administrative leadership of the Solicitor General. So we have Director of Public Prosecution, we have directors in these various, So I believe that in Omitutu 2.0, the Office of the Attorney General would deliver on that which has been promised using the instrumentality of the law. Because we always say as lawyers that law is the vehicle that brings transformation. And without that vehicle, there can be no transformation. Thank you very much. Indeed.
So I think for the expectation of people as regards Omitutu 2.0, it is safe to say that we should stay tuned.
You should stay tuned.
Stay tuned to expect more.
It's going to be exciting.
Okay, from poverty to prosperity at the end of it. Sir, before you go, a lot of people want to be like you, especially hearing that you got a political position without lobbying for it or being a member of any political party. Please, can you tell the youths that are looking to, they are looking up to you for mentoring and to also get to the care that the attitude that they should that should be their disposition?
I think it's very, very important for youth to know that they should be mentored. They need to be mentored. It's good to know that some people have gone ahead of one in this journey. I had mentors. I had good mentors. One of my great mentors was Professor Abiola Ojo. of blessed memory. And he used to challenge me because as an aspiring person to become a professor, you need to publish.
Yes.
So every month he will come into my office. People melolotiko.
Asking you.
And I'll be like, this bad, leave me alone, you know. But even if I don't write one paper the 1 month, the moment he leaves my office, I'll start. And maybe I don't finish it that month, I'll finish it the following month. And that's how, before you know it, I had all the papers to be promoted. And then he will say, don't be local. Look beyond Nigeria. So I started attending international conferences. In fact, eventually I became the president of the African Network of Constitutional Lawyers and also a council member of the International Association of Constitutional Law, which is my area of, And through mentoring, you keep on setting standards. So even as I am now, I have my 5-year development, which is the, short-term plan, my immediate medium-term plan, and the long goal of where I want to be. So you must always be improving yourself. As I am, I don't boast to be the best digital person, but I'm not analog.
You have left that.
I've left that. In fact, all the books I publish, I type them, typeset, and do everything myself. To tell you that there are skills that you can acquire. I'll challenge every young person listening to me to go and learn an international language. Learn French, learn Spanish, learn a language, learn Hebrew. I remember I was in London in a place and they were going to be very harsh on me with prices, and I discovered that they were Jewish people, and I greeted them in Hebrew language. Wow. It was morning. I said Boker Tov. So they said, come again. I said Boker Tov, which is like good morning. And he said there's something. I said Manishma, Biseda Gamot. By the time we said, they just said I should, forget the price. The thing just crashed. That's the value of skills. Nobody will teach you that in any institution, but you can teach yourself. So teach yourself to be marketable. Learn about sports. Learn and pick up. Stop being lazy. Pick up exercise. Keep fit. Then invest in your looks. Okay. Looking good is good business. Smell nice.
Looking good.
Yes. Looking good is good business. Some young people will come to you and all the air will just change. You need to, don't repeat wearing the same shirt. Wash your socks, polish your shoe, look like somebody wants to employ. Don't go around with flip-flop. And then, please, all this writing without knowing when to use capital letter and small letter is good for SMS communication. But for formal communication, people of our generation, we pick it up. And when you come into the world, learn the value and the skills that will make you marketable and to stand out. Because I tell you, that day, I never knew it was going to be a destiny change. It was just something I do. When people invite me, I prepare, I make presentation. And then the governor was there, and the rest of it was that opportunity met, me at the time when I was prepared. So be a Boy Scout. Be prepared for the opportunity so that you can grab the opportunity. Improve yourself and don't give up. The future is always bright. Me that I'm speaking, I'm not a son of, I'm like an Atakpata Dide myself. But here, like my dad used to tell me when he used to beat me, when Gbatoban Gumoto, Emikoni Magun, Gbatoban Losi Luimbo, Mini Simbe, Gbatoban Jonjo Imbo Medemede, Mini Bejembe. And the truth of the matter is, all the Medemede and all that, the cars and all that, the man has done his own, he has gone to the great beyond. So listen to discipline and be encouraged by those who challenge you to be better. Because the day for celebrating your goodness and all that, it will just be you. So don't give up on yourself. The future is always bright. Believe in yourself and work hard towards achieving your goals. And always be fine-tuning your goals so that you will always be better and continue to, that's the challenge I have for the youth.
Wow, I'm even encouraged myself. And there are thumbs up for you everywhere, even in the studio. We had a great time with Professor Oyelowo Oyewo, the Commissioner for Justice from the Ministry of Justice and Chambers of Attorney General. It's a privilege to have you.
It's always a joy to share.
On behalf of the Commissioner for the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, we appreciate your presence, and the Permanent Secretary as well as the producer of this program, Aboye Diojo. We are very happy to have you here, and we hope that when we call on you again, we'll hear more from you.
Sure.
Especially the part where you have to look good. Looking good
is
a serious business.
It's good business.
It's good business. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon for another section on Conversations on Aloore Radio. Stay tuned for other programs coming up, and don't forget you can always watch us live on every of our social media pages. Join us on our website at www.alooreradio.com. My name is Taiwo Olaniyo. Till I come your way again, I leave you with the word of Professor Oyelowo Oyewo. Be mentored, and looking good is a good business.
Yeah.
Thank you.